Hi, I'm Javen and I'm studying in the Counseling Psychology Department at Emmaus Bible College. Today, for the class Developmental Psychology, I want to be talking about an issue. I want to bring awareness to the psychosocial ramifications of depression, particularly in teenage girls. Depression in teenage girls is directly affected by relationships that surround them. For the individual relationships surrounding it and how she interacts with others is an important factor of self. Depression can affect relationships. Likewise, relationships can affect depression. Teenage years are often the years when depression manifests itself in girls in particular. An important contribution to depression is the social relationships of the teen girl and the people around her. When talking about children who are growing into their teenage years, a professor named Rosemary Iconis, in an article for Pediatrics for Parents, says this about depression. The criteria used to diagnose a major depressive episode in a child is the same as in an adult. These criteria require that there be a feeling of sadness or an inability to experience pleasure, which lasts at least 2 weeks. In addition, at least 4 of the following symptoms must be present: changes in appetite, sleep disturbances, loss of energy, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, decreased ability to concentrate, and thoughts of suicide or death. So, how is it that depression can be affected by the psychosocial or the relationships that are around us? It seems that it happens in a few ways. The first one that we're going to talk about is gender. Gender and sexual development has an effect on the psychosocial aspect of life. Dan Hirsch and Loan Brisnell, in an article about female teen depression, state that girls and boys show similar depression risks during childhood, but girls are twice as likely as boys to become clinically depressed after puberty. In other words, while there seems to be little differences between the genders, it happens that early on, something about puberty and the dawn of teenhood can spark depression in girls. Interestingly, the menstrual cycle, despite its personal and taboo nature, might affect the way that girls think about themselves in relation to others. When puberty comes, it comes with a tsunami of poignant hormones. Studies have shown that girls who go through puberty earlier than others run into some major problems that are directly affected by relationships. Dana L. Haney, a professor of Ohio State, found this: early developers are more likely to be influenced by other people's expectations for them. In addition, early maturing girls may be especially vulnerable to peer dynamics because early puberty generally occurs when peer relations are especially important to the adolescent. It is also important to talk about sexual partners and the effects of sexual intercourse on depression in teen girls. The numbers are growing and teen sex is common, but its residue of guilt and depression are left behind with thousands of teenage girls. Teen sex often leads to depression. Sex is social. It needs a partner. Its social effect directly impacts teen girl depression. Sexual development and puberty does affect teenage depression. Another thing that affects teenage depression is family relationships and how they also have a correlation to teen girl depression. Parental nurture or lack thereof affects the way that teens think of themselves. In many families, the parental influence is by no means healthy for the teen. In fact, it can negatively impact her and, in many instances, cause depression. Heidi Spleet, in an article for Clinical Psychiatry News, says the association between perceived parental rejection and depression was statistically significant for younger girls aged 10 through 14 years and older girls aged 15 through 19 years, but not for boys. And the association was statistically significant for the older girls compared with other subgroups. Rejection did not appear to have a significant impact on depression or aggression in subgroups of older or younger boys. The differences might reflect girls' stronger orientation towards interpersonal relationships. Treatment by parents that is either emotionally or physically abusive can definitely affect the relationship of depression in a teenage girl. When talking about family problems, genetics and the biological aspect should not be missed. There have been studies that have found that certain people are carriers of high-risk serotonin transport alleles. People with this allele often have a tendency towards depression, as opposed to people who don't have it. The allele can cause a person, when exposed to a bad situation, to snap, especially if it happens earlier in life. It's important to talk about these types of familial aspects. Thirdly, we want to talk about peer social aspects. The peer social aspect, or friends, has a distinct effect on depression, like in other cases, either positively or negatively. Your friend relationships can help or destroy you. The way that a teen girl perceives people treat her will affect her social mentality, her depression, and the positive or negative way a girl looks at friendship. The problem with viewing friendship in a negative way is that it becomes a vicious cycle for the depressed teen girl. While wanting friends, she is depressed, which scares away possible friendships, which make her even more depressed. One failure of relationship can worsen a depressed state. Heischer and Brendine mentioned that depression after a relationship failure in teen girls often begins with ruminative thoughts about her flaws, mistakes, or appearance. These negative thoughts may preoccupy her day and night. Looks and self-image based on others can cause a teenage girl to have a low view of herself, and that can slowly merge into depression. Often, we get this from the world around us, and we can't live up to its standards. Depression can sneak in, and this type of depression is extremely harmful. In conclusion, depression can have effects on people's relationships and social lives. Likewise, relationships can affect depression. Teenage years are when depression often manifests itself in girls. With these words, I would try to inspire the watcher to ponder and carefully consider the help and the care he should have for future depressed teens that he or she might meet. This is Javen Tuttle, and I've been very glad to share this message with you guys. Hopefully it's been a good overview of the subject, and I hope that it's helpful to whoever watches it. I'll catch you at another moment.